Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is in your hood. I am absolutely Adia,
I'm your girl, Ashli Nicole.
I am the franchise.
and we are the Quad.
It's a beautiful day. I just had to.
Had the
I'm
pause
so,
to be.
I'm so excited. Listen, people make fun of me because I'm like the self care, the poster child for self care, and I always talk about it, and I'm always, just discussing self care and the importance of that. And this young lady, Miss Latoya Smith, is in the building. We have
Yes, yes.
I want to say we have. I'm just gonna say we have a long history. I can actually credit Miss Latoya for she had a radio show on LCS radio, right?
Okay.
Up at the Fishbowl. And I was a guest on there talking about MO, you know what I'm saying? Mountain Origins. And then she would call me back like every once in a while, like Saturday morning, be like, yo, what you doing? Can you come up to the show? I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna come up. And I went up there like 2 or 3 times, and I really felt like an honorary co-host, of the
This dude
show.
make himself an honorary
Yo, I'm
co-host
telling you.
on
Every
everybody's
But you gotta
show.
understand, I was like, when I realized what it was and what it took, I really took it seriously, and I was really excited to be able to be called up there, on the last minute when I didn't have nothing going on, to come up there and talk about these things, because it was really about the counseling and the depression side of it. So let me talk about a little bit about this before we get her on the mic. She's a
Okay.
licensed professional counselor with over 17 years of experience working in mental health, provided services to youth and adults, outpatient, school, in-home, and community settings. She firmly believes that people don't have to remain stuck in their pain or at a place where they became wounded. That's important. She encourages her clients to be active in their treatment and work towards their desired outcome. And she is the owner of LCS Counseling and Consulting Agency. It's a private practice located in Fort Worth, Texas, Funky Down, Texas. Shout out to the community
funky
frontline.
time. Right.
Her focus and practice is on helping Christian leaders and their families find healthy balance in their lives. She recently launched a mobile app called Strong Witness. You over here accomplished, ain't you, Miss Smith? Which is designed for
That's
people.
a free app?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. To share and connect with others. And we are so happy to have Miss Latoya Smith in the building. How you doing today?
I'm good, and thank you for having me on the call. I
Yes,
really
most
appreciate
definitely.
it. Yeah, I'm
Listen.
excited about it.
You're
I'm excited about
as
it.
excited as I am.
Yeah, I'm excited
I'm
about
really
it.
excited. I'm excited at
Yeah.
what you bring, because we've had several conversations. I've tried to bring you out to I've brought you out to my job, and you school my coworkers. I mean, we've been on the radio together. We've been at, professional spaces together, networking events together.
Yeah.
And I really love what you bring. And I'm a little bit upset that because we've built such a great relationship
right.
that I can't be one of your
That's
clients.
right. That's exactly right. Yeah. But Frank's a pro too, as you guys know.
Right.
I'm sure your audience already knows, and you two know Frank's a pro on the mic. Yeah.
Hey, well, I try.
Yeah.
But so Latoya, all
Mhm.
this experience you bring, self-care,
hmm
counseling, therapy. I want to know where all of this began for you.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I'm from South Jersey, right?
New Jerusalem.
And then when I when I graduated from college, I really thought I was a communications major. And I really thought I was gonna go on the film and be like the female Spike Lee. Make all these
That
movies.
voice
Right?
comes from.
Yeah.
I told you. You had a common
It was a
voice.
plan. We made. I remember the VHS tape we made with the video, and I sent it to NYU. And then lo and behold, I didn't get in, and so I just went home. And I remember playing like Nintendo, like in my mom's living room, and then working at like a plant thing where you go like water the plants, and it was hot. And then I just start working with kids, and I loved what I was doing. But I remember stepping back and realizing I have no idea what I'm doing, although I do enjoy what I'm doing.
Right.
I was like, all right, so I just start Googling. I didn't know anything about counseling because we don't talk about counseling. So I just started Googling what it would be, counseling or social work. And then there were 2 programs that the deadline didn't pass for grad school. It was Clark Atlanta, where I really wanted to go. And then it was Auburn, where I actually went. And I loved Auburn. But that's how I got into it, by realizing I have no clue what I'm doing.
Right.
But this is pretty good. Yeah. And so I just loved it, from the program and all
Beautiful,
that.
Well, talk to us a little bit about your platform. When I know you have your practice, you have your private practice, but you also had a radio show, which I spoke of earlier. And talk to us a little bit about what your drive was in having a radio show and the content that was on the show.
Yeah, and that's what I still love. So I do have a private practice. It's in Fort Worth. It's right off of University, right across the street from the Apple Store, if anybody knows that specifically.
Yes.
You got to say the Apple Store for the iPhone. Yeah, for the iPhone people.
Yes.
So I started the show. I started the show because I like to have practical and relevant conversations about mental health.
Okay.
Because if we wait for everybody just to come into the office, nobody will come.
Right.
Right. As much as I wanted people to come running into my office when I open the doors, so they can, I can have business. It didn't work that way. But I'm realizing, okay, when we break it down and have easy, simple conversations, more people are drawn to it than being so technical, or kind of like, well, if you talk to me, that means you're crazy and something's wrong with you, and you've lost all hope and everything else. So now you have to talk to me. Like, no, let's just talk. Let's just be real and break it all down. And we all have stuff. We all have issues. Let's break this stigma. That's where the stigma comes, when you don't want to talk about it. So let's just talk about it like everyday stuff, as we should.
Right.
Talk about anything,
Right.
Right.
especially when it comes to health issues, but as we should. And, you remember, Frank, we did various topics around mental health. I don't care if it was something that happened in the media that week, something with kids, marriage, love, like you name it. We just chatted about it, and we made it real.
Right.
Right. Everyday conversation, which I'm hoping we can get to the point where mental health is about, without it being so, scary.
Closing.
Yeah.
Now, I have a specific for Black women, young Black women, because I know that therapy, counseling, there's, stigma attached to that, which we're trying to break out of that. With this generation, I see a lot of people speak more openly about being in therapy, or going to counseling, having those conversations. How does mental health specifically affect young Black women?
Yeah, that's a good point too. That's a good question. I think, well, let me say this. I think it helps anybody, right? When you're able to talk and to process and to work through what you're feeling. I mean, we all know, like, well, I'm a talker, right? So I'm a therapist. So if I'm feeling down, I do better when I can openly process how I'm feeling.
Okay.
But I think that's with anybody, right? Now, when it comes to Black families, Latino families, even Asian families, we are taught what goes on in this house stays in this house.
Right.
Don't go tell anybody what we're talking about. Don't go to your cousin's house or your auntie's house and tell them what we're talking about here. So I think that, one, being able to say it's okay to talk already begins to break it, to let you know that we don't have to have that wall up.
Right.
Okay. So that's just one for just the culture, which I'm sure we'll get back to. But then even talking about when it comes to women, and then we can go into women and the images in the media, what you're supposed to look like, how it should go. But again, being able to process that. So now we got two things against this, like, being a woman and then being Black, having to present a certain way and look a certain way for society, but being able to say it's okay.
Right.
Let's just be able to talk about it and break those things down and not hold it in. I think that's where a lot of the problems come from, because we hold it in and we have to perpetrate, if you will, like everything is well all the time.
Right, and that's why I'm asking
Superwoman.
specifically about Black women. I recently had a personal experience with mental health, and I noticed a lot of Black males that seek treatment and white females. I did not see a lot of Black females actively in treatment or seeking treatment. And that was more my question. So do you see more people that do one-on-one versus group as it relates to Black females?
Yeah, you know what? For me, in my practice, it's the opposite. I have a lot of Black females that come in. Very few. I could probably, if I really sat here and thought about it, the Black males that have come in the door. When they come, things are just broken, like bottom. Like nobody comes preventative. They come to, okay, listen, it's already
After it's
broke and it's
falling
ruined.
apart.
Right.
Please help me now, because my wife or my significant other said, now I have to come. Like,
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
That's the
Ultimately.
Black,
Last
the
straw.
Black male.
Yeah.
But the Black woman, that's who contacts me. Now, I also believe because my name is Latoya, where they'll know that.
Right.
Right. They say that to me.
Right,
Like,
Yeah.
listen, I
right.
saw your name.
Right.
I knew
That's
you would
it.
get it.
Right.
That's why I'm coming.
Latoya with a capital T.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Capital T is very important.
That's the
That's
yeah,
important.
that's the one.
Yeah. But that's it. See, for my practice, that's what I see more of. And I would say, I remember we
Okay.
did a show on Black male therapists, and it was like I had to search for
Mhm.
Black male therapists in the DFW. Now I know a few, a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But when I first did it, I was like, where are they?
Right,
Like,
right.
you know what I mean? And, I mean, one came from like Plano or Frisco, and one, came, you know what I mean? I had to like pull them in.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it is the opposite. And I think I can't speak for all the Black therapists that I know, but I want to say, I don't think I'm going too far out there to say they see more women. Same thing on social media now, because I'm a Black woman, I can see this, but therapyforblackgirls.com, right? I don't know if you guys heard of that site.
No,
yeah,
I didn't know.
it's awesome. It started by her name is Dr. Joy. I can't remember her last name, but she's out of Atlanta. She started this site, therapyforblackgirls.com. She has a podcast just for it.
Thanks for saying it twice.
Yeah, and then you can go to each state and find out. I've had to refer people. I don't care if they're black or not. You can still go see it, right?
Right.
So listen, look it up. Look up the different states. Go find somebody. Like I have my I'm on that directory as well. But it helps people of color find a therapist of color in their area. And I think a spinoff, I think I started saying therapyforblackmen.org. I think I saw that. But same thing. I'm in a Facebook group just for therapists, just for black professional women. So I actually see way more women than black males. Not that all women are comfortable when they come in.
Right.
And you know, not that all women get it. I just see more women coming. I think there's still that thing with men. I'm not sure if they're already at. Like I said, I can only speak for myself when they come in my office is when things have completely fallen apart.
Well, I think that for me, in my situation, I'm not big on talking about my personal feelings, number one. But it was a situation where I had to speak to multiple people.
Okay.
And so already being trepidatious about speaking to one person,
Right.
by the time I got to number 5 or 6, I was just
Gotcha.
like,
Yeah,
it's all messed up. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like it's hard to be vulnerable,
yeah, it is.
especially for our generation
Right.
and for us, because we're the strong ones.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly. And I
we're
was about
supposed
to
to
mention
be,
it.
you know, the entrepreneurs
Right,
and
right.
mom entrepreneurs
Right.
and you know mothers and encouragers and everybody's backbone. My man, I gotta
Right.
encourage him and
Yeah.
you know, and I always say even iron bends, because people, you know, even for me, like I know my kids definitely think I'm super mom.
Yeah.
But even for my family, my friends, you know how when I saw this meme, I thought about you when we were talking about having you on the show. The one that says, check on your strong friend, you know,
Yeah.
after
Right.
the
Yeah.
suicides, Anthony Bourdain
Yeah.
and Kate Spade.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we don't really do that.
Right.
I think, you know,
Yeah.
it's cute to say, but you don't. And
Right.
I just had this conversation last night with one of my friends in Atlanta. And I said, that was something that was big for me. Because people always take for granted that I'm good because I'm the strong one.
Right.
But you really do have to check on your strong friends.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
I always like to let people know, like you said, even the strong can get weak sometimes. The way you quoted it, iron bends. For me, being the youngest of this beautiful platform, and actually seeing my mother dealing with mental health, and I can speak on it because she's given me that permission to open that forum. With me seeing her and having to be strong for her, it's basically like a double take of me putting on her, you know, emotional feelings, her mental health on top of mine.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I can't let my mama see me break, because then she gonna break, and I'm trying to keep her built up. So it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
A lot of people really don't understand until you start talking about it. And I actually messaged her the other night and told her that it was time to tell our story of being, you know, having a broken mother-daughter relationship.
Yeah.
And that takes a toll on it too. You know, you just carrying on burdens year after year, and then eventually you just get accustomed to just keeping it all in until you just break, and then that pot just starts to boil over. So I really appreciate, you know, the work that you've done and are doing in the community, because I'm not, you know, a lot of times people just get stuck on the therapies that they see on TV.
Yeah, like Frasier.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
And it's like, what are you really drawing from that? Have
Yeah.
you, like, do you care about yourself enough to say, you know what, let me go ahead and do this. Let me stop playing with myself. Let me really try to get my mind together and gather those thoughts on what I really need to do next, so that you won't perish. You my dad used to tell me all the time, stress is the fastest killer, and sometimes you can be stressing and not even know it. And that's mentally draining as well. So to have someone to be able to be there as an accountability partner, and I stress that a lot, especially with, you know, the young women that may inbox me or message me. I'm like, girl, you just don't understand. You don't even know the half, you know. But I'm keeping it together because people are watching.
Yeah.
You know, they are watching. But my question to you would be, for someone that may be bottled down, and like Adia spoke of, not really wanting to step out and say, I need this help.
Right.
What is a tip for someone, for me, to go to this person and say, hey, you know what? I think it's time. Like, what is the best approach that you would take?
Yeah, that's a good point. You both just made really good points. And, you know, I'm sorry you went through what it is that you went through.
Yeah.
And you are strong, right? I think, and I have so many thoughts in my head, so I'm trying to
No,
answer
get them all out.
Please.
The first thing I think that we need to realize, what do two strong black women, right? I'm sitting in front of both of you. One thing we need to realize is, what did you both need when you were last broken?
Right.
And then be that person.
Okay.
Okay. I didn't need somebody. I can think about things when I'm broken. I don't need you to come in with the baddest cliche line. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't need you to come in with like, you know, chips and queso. Like I don't need that. What I really need is you to be a listening ear and just be there.
Right.
So I think sometimes we have to have the perfect words, the perfect timing. Sometimes it's just your presence and your ear. Just hold the phone when I'm talking.
Right.
And don't be judgmental. You know what I mean?
That's
Let
big.
like especially if you're close to me. Like, I got a really good friend now, and sometimes it's I laugh because it's not normal. She's my best friend, but we rarely speak on the phone. We always texting.
Right.
But we can be so transparent in those texts too. And we can tell each other about the other. So if I'm off and if she's off, I'll be like, that's, that's stupid, or, you know what I mean? Like, and we can talk, but like, listen, sometimes it's just being able to tell your friend, listen, I can see you and I can see what's going on and I'm right here. You know what I mean? Like, let me know. Sometimes when I don't advise going to somebody and being like, listen, you look crazy, you're unraveling, let's go to the psych ward. Like, that's not going to work. You know what I mean? But more so, I can empathize with you. I can connect with you when I'm just present. What's going on? Yeah. You know what I mean? Especially if I know you, like, Frank, you good? Because you're not laughing like you always laughing. You know what I mean? Or I haven't seen you post an Instagram video in a while. You cool? Right. Like, you know what I mean? And just let them know, like, I miss you. I'm here. And I think that safety, that will allow somebody to be vulnerable. Right? Because vulnerability is tough. Shame blocks vulnerability. When I think that I'm less than, when I think that everybody else has got it but me, but when I can normalize it, like, listen, what you went through, if you had to tell your story, I wouldn't even want to tell my story one time. Right. Not if it's the first time. Right. I could imagine you had to go, I'm so sorry that's what you went through. Right. And if I can empathize with you and speak to that pain, your next line may just be, you know what, it did suck. And even if I leave it there, the next time you see me, we can connect. Right. Now, hopefully it won't be that long. Right. But sometimes it's just being present without worrying about, let me say the perfect line at the perfect time and do it. Right. But that vulnerability is a bad boy. Like, that is so tough. But that's the kind of thing that we got to practice. I don't want to say, well, sometimes daily, and be safe being who we are. There's a video, a TED Talk that I love. It's on YouTube. It's Brene Brown. I don't know if you guys ever heard of her or seen it. Brene Brown. And it's called The Power of Vulnerability. And last I checked, it was viewed over 8 million times. But she talks about the significance of vulnerability and the opposite of that, which is shame. And that's the kind of thing that you can watch. The funny, like a Friday, you can watch over and over again, just keep cracking up that movie. That's the kind of video that you can watch and always get something out of it, depending on what season of life that you're in and what you're going through. Right. Yeah, so I definitely recommend that for anybody so they can understand this vulnerability thing.
Yeah, and what you said is so accurate. I think I did the opposite. I knew things were about to unravel, and I didn't want my kids there. And so they usually go out of town for the summer. And so I was like, okay, well, if the kid's not here, I could deal with it. It's me. I got it. And the kids leaving made me more depressed. Yeah. And I literally I have a dog, a big dog that thinks he's a human, but was, locked in the house with the dog. I work from home full time. So after everything had transpired, people said stuff like, well, I knew something wasn't, but nobody said anything, you know? And
but you wanted somebody to say something.
I did. Yeah. And I know that I'm good at, which a lot of people are good at, covering it up, because I have I've worked in entertainment for over 10 years. So I've always had a very public side. So I know how to turn it on. Yeah. but I felt like people who were in my space daily definitely knew something wasn't correct.
But see, that's the thing that I'm talking about, because, and that's a great point too, somebody's going to see us.
Right.
The thing about it is, again, if we're talking about breaking the stigma and the shame, my thing is, if you see me, come help me.
Exactly.
That's all I'm saying. Like, when I was younger, I went, and I've shared this story before, which has to do with the app too. I was sexually abused as a child. I remember thinking, okay, in 7th grade, when I was younger, that's not something you talked about.
Right.
But my thing is, man, I wish somebody would have helped me. Like, ask me why. You know what I mean? I'm cutting up. Or ask me why I'm shutting down and I'm distant. Don't just be like, oh, there she go, acting crazy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah,
Right.
like, come get me and help me. And that's the thing. Like, if we can only let everybody let their guards down, even with your strongest friend, and have it be okay to say something ain't right.
Right.
The problem is, and this goes back to Black women being strong too, the problem is, it's hard for me to help you with your stuff if I never dealt with my stuff.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like, oh, okay, I see that, and oh, okay, well, you know, you good, right? But that goes back to that strong Black women stuff, because I can even look at my family. Man, there's some strong Black women.
Right.
They have overcame a lot. They have persevered. They have absolutely made it through. The thing about it is that I can also see, as I get older, you're not all the way well, right? And I remember somebody telling me when I was younger, and the irony, they were going through stuff, but they didn't share it. But they said, you know, you don't want to be, I can't remember how they said, like a grown or adult woman who's broken. But they were doing it more like pointing down at me. And so when I began to work on myself, I realized, wait, you are broken.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's the idea of, okay, do you want to be 60? If you're 20 years old now, you don't deal with it. Do you want to be a 60-year-old woman with this weight still, with this baggage you're still carrying?
Right.
Or you want to begin to deal with it?
Right.
You know, so everything, and we know this, right? Everything that presents a certain way isn't that way. But man, if we could be so vulnerable to reach out and ask, are you okay? You know what I mean? That's the thing. Can we have practical and relevant conversation about stuff without it being so uncomfortable?
Right. And it's just like the saying, real recognizes real. But who recognizes pain? Who recognizes the bitterness? Who recognizes, you know, the depression? Like, you can be around somebody all day long. You'll say, hey, girl, your hair is pretty. But it's mind-boggling that people really do not pay attention to what's really going on the inside of my friend. And I've gotten in the habit of, hey, girl, how you doing? Just checking in on you. Hey, how's it going? What are you doing? It can be 2 or 3 weeks at a time. But just when it's on your mind, Adia, prime example, she was one of our guests previously. It's like, she's like my spiritual sister. Like, I don't care what we doing. We always thinking about each other at the same exact time. And we'll pray in a text message. Yeah. You know, I don't know what you're dealing with. Let's go ahead and do this right now. And I think for me, in my generation, and I did grow up, even being, you know, growing up in the 90s, it was that, oh, what stays in the house, what goes on here stays here. And that also causes for a lot of family tension. Yeah. And then you do have that where you shaming the other, you're bashing the other, and like you said, you coming at me a certain way, but you're not together yourself. And then that's just a mind frame, I think, that individuals get stuck in. Yeah, exactly. Because they don't have anybody there tapping them on their shoulder. You know, hey, hold on. Yeah. You gotta really pull yourself back and get it together.
I think part of that is this new world that we live in, the social media world, where, you know, primarily our communication is, you know, through the phone, text message and all that. When we're not around each other, right? And we can't recognize certain things, because we can be whoever we want on social media, right? We can post those images, all type of happy stuff, but you know, internally we're really dealing with something. And if you were by my side, then you probably could tell. But listen, that's the first half. That's the first half. We
gonna woosah.
Come back. We're gonna decompress a little bit.
This not Dr. Phil. This the quad.
You know what I'm saying? This is the quad. #come help me. We will be back very shortly.